Mental health isn't a hashtag you slap on for clout or a vibe you switch on when it's convenient. It's a war many fight every single day, silent, invisible, and exhausting. Most people don't see it, but the battle inside is brutal and unrelenting, wearing down even the strongest among us. Too often, mental health is reduced to surface-level feel-good moments, like an accessory to show off online. But the truth is far from that polished image. For millions, it's pain that never quits, a weight that drags them down long after the posts stop. It's not about positivity or motivation. It's about raw survival against an invisible storm. The reality is messy and uncomfortable. It demands honesty and courage, not trendy catchphrases or fleeting attention. When mental health becomes a fad, we silence the real stories and deepen the isolation of those suffering in the shadows. If we want to make a real difference, we need to stop treating mental health like a passing trend. We owe it to ourselves and those fighting daily to face the truth. No sugarcoating, no shortcuts, just real understanding and real support. Mental health is biological, not just emotional. Your brain is not a simple switch you can flip on or off with sheer willpower. It is an incredibly complex organ, wired through a network of chemicals, neural pathways, and genetic factors. Mental health isn't just about feeling sad or anxious. It's about the way your brain physically processes emotions, stress, and trauma. Experiences like chronic stress, traumatic events, or difficult childhoods don't just stay in your memory, they rewire your brain's architecture, making it more reactive, more vulnerable, and sometimes harder to regulate. This biological reality means your struggles are not simply a matter of choice or attitude. They are deeply embedded in your body's functioning. When people reduce mental health to just emotional weakness or a lack of effort, they ignore this complexity entirely. Calling someone lazy or weak for depression or anxiety does more harm than good. It deepens shame and isolation, pushing the person further into silence. Shame is poison in the mental health world. It creates barriers to healing and feeds the internal narrative of failure. Understanding that mental health challenges are rooted in biology helps shift the conversation away from blame and toward compassion. It changes how we approach recovery, focusing on realistic strategies rather than empty platitudes. It's essential to grasp that conditions like depression or anxiety are not choices. You don't wake up one day and decide to suffer. Instead, your brain chemistry and life circumstances collide in ways that hijack your mood, your energy, your ability to think clearly. This hijacking disrupts basic functions like sleep, appetite, and concentration, all of which play a critical role in how you feel day to day. Recognizing this means accepting that recovery requires more than willpower. It requires patience, knowledge, and sometimes medical or therapeutic intervention to help the brain reset and heal. Survival in the face of mental health struggles means learning to work with your biology, not against it. This isn't about forcing yourself to snap out of it or just think positive. It's about managing the chemical imbalances and neural patterns that drive your experience. Tools like medication, therapy, mindfulness, and lifestyle changes aren't signs of weakness. They are acts of self-respect and practical steps to restore balance. Embracing science and patience is the most effective way to build resilience in a system that's been thrown off course. This biological understanding also helps combat stigma on a societal level. When we see mental health as a physical reality like any chronic illness, we create space for empathy, support, and resources. It moves us away from judgment and toward care. We recognize that someone battling depression is not choosing to suffer, but is fighting a biological battle every day, often invisible to others. This awareness is crucial for creating communities that lift rather than isolate. Finally, acknowledging the biological roots of mental health challenges encourages us to be kinder to ourselves. It reminds us that struggling is not a moral failure or a sign of weakness. It is a signal from a complex system that needs help and healing. Patience, science, and self-compassion become the foundation for recovery, not just motivation or discipline. When we accept this, we open the door to genuine healing rather than endless self-criticism. Daily survival looks different for everyone. Mental health survival isn't a one-size-fits-all experience. For one person, simply dragging themselves out of bed, despite crushing fatigue and relentless dark thoughts, is a monumental feat. They might wake up feeling like the weight of the world is pressing down on their chest, but they still manage to start the day. For someone else, survival means pushing through waves of anxiety so intense they feel physically paralyzing, yet they still show up at work, engage with family, or navigate social interactions they'd rather avoid. And for others, survival is less visible, but no less real. It's about holding on to the faintest thread of hope when despair threatens to swallow them whole. This vast range of experiences makes it impossible to judge someone's mental health by their appearance or what they share on social media. What you see on the surface rarely reflects the inner struggle. Mental health survival isn't about having the right vibe or displaying the right amount of energy. It's about carrying a mental load so heavy and unseen that the simplest acts of functioning feel like climbing a mountain. That quiet endurance, often invisible, is the real measure of strength. Even the smallest steps, which others might overlook or dismiss, are actually massive victories in the context of mental health survival. Getting out the door on a bad day, preparing and eating a meal when appetite is lost, or reaching out to a friend despite the urge to isolate. These are all monumental acts of courage. They aren't just routine tasks. They are lifelines that keep a person tethered to reality and hope. Each of these actions chips away at the weight of mental illness and builds momentum toward healing. Recognizing these small wins changes everything. It shifts the narrative from self-criticism to self-respect. When you start to see surviving the day as a series of victories, you break the cycle of harsh judgment and hopelessness. You give yourself permission to acknowledge your effort, even when it feels like it's not enough. This mindset rewiring is crucial. It creates the foundation for sustainable growth and resilience. Understanding that survival varies so greatly also challenges societal expectations. It forces us to reject simple assumptions about productivity, mood, and success. Mental health isn't about bouncing back quickly or following a linear path. It's about navigating a complex and often unpredictable landscape, where what counts as progress can look very different from one person to another. Compassion becomes essential, both for yourself and for others. Ultimately, embracing the diversity of survival experiences invites us to be kinder, more patient, and more realistic in how we approach mental health. It teaches us that every effort matters, no matter how small it seems. And it reminds us that strength isn't always visible. It's often quiet, persistent, and deeply courageous. Survival requires tools, not just mindset. Survival isn't about simply thinking positive or mustering enough motivation to push through the pain. Those approaches might offer short-term relief, but they're nothing more than temporary band-aids on a deeper wound. Real survival demands a well-equipped toolbox filled with practical, evidence-based strategies that address both mind and body. It means adopting approaches that work consistently and patiently, rather than relying on willpower alone. Therapy is a cornerstone of that toolbox. Techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and other evidence-based methods provide concrete ways to rewire harmful thought patterns and process trauma. Therapy isn't about quick fixes or vague self-help advice. It's structured, intentional work that helps you understand your mind's wiring and develop healthier ways of coping. It's a process that rewires your brain's response to pain and stress, making survival not just possible, but sustainable. Medication, when prescribed and managed properly, is another vital tool. For many, chemical imbalances in the brain create barriers to healing that motivation or mindset alone can't overcome. Medications can restore balance to brain chemistry, alleviating debilitating symptoms and creating the mental space necessary for therapy and growth to take hold. Far from a crutch or weakness, medication is a form of medical treatment just like insulin. for diabetes or inhalers for asthma that support your brain's ability to function. Support systems are equally crucial. Isolation deepens mental health struggles, while connection provides relief and resilience. Family, friends, support groups, or online communities can offer understanding, validation, and practical help. These networks reduce the overwhelming weight of feeling alone, reminding you that you don't have to face the battle by yourself. Real survival happens in community, where shared experience creates strength. Building routines around sleep, nutrition, and exercise stabilizes your body and mind. Mental chaos drains your limited resources, leaving you vulnerable to overwhelm and breakdown. Establishing regular, simple habits grounds you in the physical world and restores energy. Even small adjustments, consistent bedtimes, balanced meals, gentle movement can make a profound difference in your ability to manage daily survival. Boundaries are often overlooked but essential. Saying no to toxic demands or draining relationships protects your fragile mental energy. Without boundaries, you risk burning out faster and losing yourself to others' expectations. Setting clear limits isn't selfish, it's a necessary act of self-preservation that gives you the space to heal and grow. Alongside this, mindfulness and grounding techniques help anchor you in the present moment, calming racing thoughts and reducing overwhelm. These tools retrain your nervous system to tolerate discomfort without spiraling. Survival isn't about random, superficial attempts at self-care. It requires integrating these tools consistently and with intention. It's about building a foundation that supports you through the storms, not just hoping the mindset shifts will carry you through. When you commit to this kind of ongoing work, you don't just survive, you build the resilience to eventually thrive. Healing is survival's next. Survival is about managing symptoms, coping with the daily grind, and simply staying afloat amid the chaos. But healing? Healing takes you beyond mere survival. It means reclaiming control over your life, your identity, and your future. It's a deeper transformation, a deliberate process of rebuilding yourself from the inside out. Healing is not just enduring pain. It's learning how to thrive despite it. At the core of healing is safety, emotional, physical, and relational safety. Without feeling secure enough to lower your guard, healing stalls. Vulnerability requires a foundation where you aren't constantly fighting for your life or your dignity. This safety might come from trustworthy relationships, a stable environment, or even professional care. It's the soil where growth can take root, allowing you to face your wounds without being overwhelmed. Healing demands time, a lot of time. There is no quick fix or instant cure. It's a slow, often frustrating journey filled with setbacks, plateaus, and breakthroughs that may come unexpectedly. You will have days that feel like progress and days that feel like regression. This non-linear path can be exhausting, but understanding that it is part of growth helps temper impatience and frustration. Time becomes an ally, not an enemy, when you accept that healing is a marathon, not a sprint. Patience is the muscle you need to develop alongside healing. Progress is rarely smooth or predictable. Some days will knock you down and you'll feel like you're back at square one. That is not failure, it's the nature of growth. Healing invites you to practice radical patience with yourself, recognizing that every step, no matter how small or backward it seems, is part of the process. This patience protects your spirit from burning out before the work is done. Self-compassion is the gateway to transformation. It's about accepting your flaws, your struggles, and your humanity without harsh judgment or self-condemnation. When you stop beating yourself up for setbacks or imperfections, you create space for true healing to occur. Self-compassion is not indulgence, it is courage. It means facing your darkest parts with kindness, understanding that you deserve care and respect just as much as anyone else. Finally, healing is about reclaiming agency, the power to make choices that align with your values, needs, and true self. It's the gradual process of taking back control from trauma, mental illness, or whatever has hijacked your life. Agency means building a life where you decide the direction, rather than being driven by pain or fear. It's the moment when survival turns into thriving, but this transformation only happens when survival has been acknowledged, honored, and supported. Healing is the brave next step after survival, a declaration that you will not only endure, but also reclaim your life. Mental health is the hardest battle and the most crucial one. Mental health is not a fleeting vibe or a trendy topic you check in and out of. It is the hardest battle many face every single day. This battle goes beyond mood swings or stress. It touches the core of your ability to live with meaning, purpose, and dignity. To truly honor this fight, you must recognize it as a form of survival, complex, relentless, and deeply personal. Respecting the complexity of mental health means letting go of oversimplified judgments and blaming yourself for struggles that stem from biology, experience, and circumstance. Self-blame only deepens wounds and stalls healing. Instead, extend the same compassion to yourself that you would offer to someone else in crisis. Understand that this is not a weakness, but a profound challenge requiring strength, patience, and care. Now is the time to stop minimizing the struggle or masking it behind cliches. Mental health demands real tools, therapy, medication, support, routines, and genuine compassion. These are not optional extras, but essential components in the fight for your well-being. Fighting for your peace means arming yourself with what you need, accepting help, and giving yourself permission to heal at your own pace. This battle is brutal, but it is also the most crucial one you will ever face. It shapes your ability to be present, to love, to create, and to live fully. By embracing this fight with honesty and courage, you reclaim your life, not just to survive, but to thrive.